remember to stay hydrated, and welcome back to episode 2 of 5 Minute Friday. Today we're going to be talking about the Reeve knives Zon, or Zon for short. I have a lot to say about this knife. Is it even worth it in 2023? Let's answer that question in this video, but for now, sit back, relax, and let's get it. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about with very limited time, so let's just jump right into it and talk about the Reeve knives Zon. First off, this is a $500 knife, which is an astronomical number, especially if you're just getting started into EDC. But you'll see a lot of like Instagram influencers post pictures of this thing, myself included. It seems like everyone is just absolutely obsessed with the Zon, this $500 USA made knife. Now, is it worth it in 2023? Let's talk about that right now. The Zon is a full-size folding knife. So you've got these two giant slabs of titanium for the scales, and then mine specifically has S45 VN blade steel. Reeve does offer a Tonto and a drop point variant. I went with this drop point kind of harpoon blade shape just because it looks a little bit nicer. And then it does have a hollow grind on both variants. So I've been carrying this thing for about 3.5 months, and it's made it inside my pocket every single day. But let's talk about the negatives first, because this knife is not perfect. So when you're looking to buy a Zon, these things are almost impossible to get. To give you a quick reference, if you go over to the Reeve knife website, they're quoting out 4 to 6 years in order to get one. You have to first get on a reservation list and then wait 4 to 6 years until you can actually buy it. So they don't actually make you put down any money, but come on, who's gonna wait 4 to 6 years for a knife? Myself personally, I would definitely not do that. The solution to not having to wait is to basically find a knife retailer, or maybe your most favorite knife retailer that stocks the Reeve Zon. And in matter of fact, my most favorite knife retailer, House of Blades, does stock the Reeve knives Zon. A little birdie over there told me that they're going to be getting some of these in very soon. So you guys might want to follow them on Instagram for updates, or hell, even shoot them an email. Let them know Everyday Minimalist sent you. Another cool thing about House of Blades is they get some really cool exclusive knives and hard to get knives. So if you are a knife collector, or hell, even if you're a beginner, they will probably have options for you like cheap budget knives or a $500 super hard to get hyped up knife. I'll leave an affiliate link in the description below, and if you use code EDM, that will get you 10% off your entire order, excluding Reeve knives. The next negative I have on the list is going to be a big one, because I experienced this when I first got my Zon. If you've never handled one of these before, they are extremely hard to open for some reason. My guess is because of the thumb stud placement on the blade and how close in relation it is to the titanium scales. It's just really hard to flip it open like a normal knife, so this does have a large learning curve. I'll be completely honest with you guys, for the first about week or so, I was getting very frustrated with this knife because I couldn't just flip it open like I did with my Inkosi or my Sebenza. Now, I went into it knowing that Reeve knives aren't super fidgety because they're not really built to be flipped open like this, but I was able to do it on my Inkosi and Sebenza, so I was like, why can't I do it with the Zon? I can confidently tell you guys though, after about a week of practicing opening this thing and then a lot of calluses on your thumb, it does get a lot better and it's very usable. I don't find myself fidgeting with the Zon like whatsoever. Maybe I'll flick it open a few times when it's in my pocket, but throughout the day, it's more of a user knife than anything. Now, a user knife for me specifically has to be durable, and that's one of the huge selling points on the Zon. This knife feels extremely durable, almost down to the point where this thing can compare to like a fixed blade. That's saying something huge because some of the knives in my collection feel like I can't really pry things with it or do some heavy tasks, whereas I believe I could just bring this thing camping and then rely on it as my primary knife. Next to that, this thing is crafted with phosphor bronze washers, which makes this thing extremely durable. It may not be like your crazy Chavez or f5.5 or whatever other knives are operating off of bearings, but in a sticky situation, especially if you're in a wet environment, this is going to be a lot more reliable because those metals won't rust as easily. So when I say that this thing is made to be a beater knife, I actually mean it. Now, the next positive / negative thing, I guess it depends on how you look at it, is going to be the snail trails that this thing attracts. A snail trail is basically another object rubbing up against the knife scale and then scratching it up. In my personal opinion, I love snail trails. Some people might not like it just because you just spent $500 to $600 on a knife, but I think it just brings out a lot of character within the knife. It looks really good in pictures, and if you have a scratched up knife, you're gonna use it. Reeve Knives also has a spa treatment service, so you can send this knife back up to them and then they'll be able to make it look like it's brand new again. Once it's refinished, they'll ship it back to you and you'll have your knife back in your pocket. Next, something that does kind of gripe me is going to be the glass glass breaker built into the blade here. I'm not sure if it's gonna help with structural integrity of the blade itself, but it looks kind of a little off. I don't see myself having to break glass windows. I mean, it might be really good in a pinch, but in my opinion, if they were to just shave that down quite a bit, it would just bring the lines together even better. Let's talk about ergonomics in the hands. This thing feels amazing. Almost to the point where this might be one of my most favorite ergonomically friendly knives in my collection. That's saying a ton because I have 200 knives in the collection and this one just makes it in the pocket. I think a big part of that is going to be the jimping here up top. It feels very relative to the Sebenza, and if you own an Inkosi, for example, this thing is super rough on the jimping, which I absolutely hate, whereas this is going to be a little bit more subtle and very nice to use. I really like the swedge in the blade because you can really choke up, and if you're doing a draw cut, there's kind of like this perfect harpoon shape here, so that way you can get into your more precision cuts. So the question still stands, is the Zon worth it in 2023? In my personal opinion, I would buy this knife 10 times over just because of how much I carry it and use it. That doesn't mean that you're gonna have to compromise a few things like the fidget factor, the fact that it's really hard to open when you first get it, and that you'll develop snail trails on a very expensive knife. But if you have your eyes set on a CRK Zon, I can definitely say that this gets the seal of approval. I'll actually put this in my favorite knives playlist because this might be the #1 knife in my entire collection. It looks like we went way past 5 minutes, so if you liked this video, throw me a thumbs up. If you disliked it, throw me a thumbs down, and I'll do better next time. If you guys have any other questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for dropping by, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.